If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. I want to talk with you today about the topic of compromise, and I want you to just think right up front, do you think of a narcissist as somebody who's willing to compromise? Well, the answer to that question is it all depends on which definition of compromise you're thinking about. There are two different ways that we can actually look at that word. Sometimes when we talk about compromise, we're talking about reaching an agreement where each side makes concessions toward the other. And that can be a very healthy kind of way. It's an acknowledgement that there's a certain diversity and uniqueness that each person brings to the equation. And we have to make room for the fact that not everybody thinks or prioritizes the same way. And so we can flow with one another even in the midst of our differences. But then a second way that compromise can play out is compromise can actually be defined as accepting standards that are phony, accepting standards that are foolish or reckless or that suit the need in the moment but don't represent where you're trying to go in the long term. Guess which definition I'm referring to when I say, oh yeah, narcissists are quite willing to compromise, not in the first sense, but they're most willing to compromise in the second sense of the word. When we talk about a healthy form of compromise, there are a couple of ingredients that are attached to that, the ingredient of empathy and the ingredient of humility. When we have an empathy, we realize, I have my thoughts and feelings and opinions, but so do you. And I want to know you from your vantage point so that I can learn how to blend well with you. And then when you're doing the same in reverse toward me, that's a real positive kind of thing. And then when we talk about humility, we're also saying that we realize, it's not all about me. The world doesn't revolve around all my cravings and preferences and desires. And so as I engage with other individuals, I need to do so in such a way that says, let's think of us instead of just exclusively me. Narcissists don't think that way. Instead, their approach to compromise is built upon a manipulative, opportunistic mindset. They're schemers, and they're trying to figure out, what do I have to do to get whatever it is I want? And if I have to compromise my standards, okay, I'm willing to do that. So it's that form of compromise that I'm wanting us to look at here. Now, let's put this in a perspective and ask, when narcissists are engaging with you, or for that matter, anyone else, exactly what are they trying to accomplish? Well, quite a few things, actually, but among those, they're wanting to gain power. They're wanting to have control. They want to have influence. And so they're trying to figure out, what does it take for me to be in the power position, to be in the control position? What do I have to say? Who do I have to meet? Who do I have to buddy up with? And I'm willing to do that. And so they want to be in that favored position. In addition, as narcissists engage with you, they have a very self-serving agenda. They're very agenda-driven, and it's basically all about trying to satisfy their attitudes of entitlement. That's part of the defining feature of narcissism. In addition, as they engage with you, they want admiration, they want adoration, they want the position of honor. So it's like, well, whatever maneuvering I have to do to get to that, I'm willing to do that. They are masters at social posturing, so they're very image driven, and so they want to do whatever they have to do to create the right image, even if it's not consistent with who they are. They want you to think that they stand for a certain image that will get them somewhere in their mind good or desirable. In addition, they also have certain cravings that they keep hidden that they want to maintain. And so they give the impression that they're cleaner or more virtuous than you might think. For example, these may be people that have hidden addictions, or they have certain behaviors that they don't want to have any accountability for. And so they're willing to compromise how they engage with people so that they can maintain those hidden kinds of things. It's rather nefarious, and it's very sneaky the way that they deal with things. But basically, narcissists are quite fluid with respect to whatever it is they stand for. In their mind, they're not thinking in terms of hard standards, correct or incorrect. They're thinking, what can I get away with? What do I have to do to get whatever it is that I want in the moment? And so self-gratification and phony appearances is what drives them. Now, I've highlighted 6 different ways that narcissists will compromise in this respect. Let's see if we can run through it. And keeping in mind, we're talking about the devious form of compromise. Number 1, narcissists are quite willing to compromise truth. They lie easily. They give false impressions. They may make flattering statements. They may make statements about who they are and what they stand for, knowing full well that they're not going to follow through with it, or that's not really consistent with their chosen way of life. But you don't know that. And so they'll just say whatever they have to say, because truth is just simply a commodity. It's just something that they can manipulate. And of course, it's not truth at all, but to them, it's like, I'll just make it whatever I need to make it today. A second thing that they tend to compromise, they compromise their own sense of dignity. Now, I know that there are many times that you've engaged with a narcissist where you felt like they've treated you in an indignant way. They don't acknowledge your worth. They don't acknowledge you in a way that holds you in high regard. But you see, the only reason that they're able to do that toward you is because they've stripped themselves of their own dignity. It's like concepts like worth and just human decency. It's like, that doesn't mean that much to me. And so they allow themselves to go into a type of cesspool of thinking, and then it certainly spills over in the way that they engage with you. A third compromise that they are most willing to make is they compromise their own ethics or values. In their mind, do they know that, for example, that lying is wrong? Well, of course they do. But it's like, well, I don't care, at least not today. Do they know that cheating is wrong? Sure they do. That's why they cover up. Do they know that cutting corners is wrong? Do they know that giving certain appearances, knowing that they're not going to follow through, is wrong? They go into what we call code switching, where it's like, well, if your codes over here are this, it's not exactly what I want, but I'm willing to do that. And then over here, I'll just pretend like I'm somebody else. They are willing to compromise on ethics and values because it just is not that meaningful to them. And then a fourth thing is a direct byproduct of that. They compromise on their own morality. I've had so many illustrations of narcissists who purport to be very moral and upstanding and, the kind of person that you would trust your sister with and all. And then behind the scenes, who knows what's going to be there, whether it's sex or money laundering or tax evasion, whatever it might be. Morality is just what they need it to be in the moment. And they can come off as very sanctimonious when in fact, no, I'm just compromising my own self because I just want to get what I want. I don't really believe that stuff anyway. A fifth compromise is they compromise their commitments and promises. I'm sure that there have been times when you've had a narcissist that'll say, I'm on your team, I'm with you, I promise that I'm going to follow through on this. And then when it comes time to collect on those commitments and promises, it's like, where'd you go? What happened? I thought you meant it. And so initially, they can seem quite willing to be that go-to person that says, oh yeah, I will follow through. And then they don't, because their life is just one big, huge compromise. And then a sixth way that they can compromise is they'll compromise their sense of loyalty or their sense of teamwork. As long as you give them supply, they're in. But if they become bored or they don't feel like they're getting enough, it's like, okay, that's enough. I'm moving on. And so whatever they say is, as far as their loyalty to a team or to a cause, it's like, well, it's only momentary. So we ask the question, do narcissists compromise? Well, yes, they do. Not in the healthy sense, not in the sense of blending for the purpose of accommodating diversity. Narcissists are in it for their own sake, period. And their only commitment is to whatever their agenda, their mood, or need of the moment is. You're dealing with a chameleon. You're dealing with somebody whose yes does not mean yes, and you're dealing with somebody who will turn on you on a dime if they think that something better is going to come along, or if they think that you're not giving them exactly what they want. So once you see how pervasive their lack of a moral or ethical or values compass is, you're going to need to recalibrate your ways of dealing with these individuals. Healthy relationships are built upon honesty and trustworthiness. And those are ingredients that are not known to be common among the narcissistic crowd. But you know what? Healthiness and trustworthiness are characteristics that I'm not going to compromise. I hope that this gives you some good insight with respect to what you're dealing with. I know sometimes you can be gaslit so many times that you are made to think that you're the problem. No, that's not the case. If you have not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, because we're going to keep more videos coming in your direction. I want to thank you for allowing me to be on your journey. In addition, I know that there are plenty of times when you're engaging with these kind of people that you think you could use some therapeutic intervention. And if you need some therapy, we have a sponsor who will help you. I'm pleased to be sponsored by the BetterHelp people. There's a link below that will take you to a whole team of licensed professional therapists. And that, if that's a need that you would have, I would encourage you to go in that direction. Also, I have my therapeutic courses. And it's multiple videos per course with written materials and questions that will guide you towards the therapeutic goals that we have. Ready, Set, Connect, about having good connections. This is me, about establishing your personal boundaries. Free to be, learning how to find yourself despite the controllers. We have a new podcast now that we have out. We have my books and many other resources. So avail yourself to all of that. You know, compromise really is a part of a healthy way of dealing with things when we realize that we're all quite different from one another, but we want to learn how to harmonize and blend in a clean kind of way with one another. Narcissists, their only compromise is to their own moral standards, their own ethics. And that being the case, I hope you can see these individuals for what they are. And then I'm hoping you can stand in your sense of decency and dignity, so that you can ultimately be a person that is guided and anchored in peace.